up, everyone? How are you today? I am JD Brown with ilovevampirenovels.com, and today I have a very special video for you all. I'm going to be chatting with a guest author, Vella, the author of the Hidden Realms of Silver Lake series. We're going to be talking all about her new release, Bound by Flames, which comes out this week. So stay tuned because all of that starts right now.
Well, first of all, I'm really excited to get to talk to you face to face like this.
No.
You want to start by introducing yourself a little bit? Tell us maybe how you got started writing.
I am Vella, and I guess my story's a little bit different than most people's because I hated to read growing up. I hated to write growing up. I was a math person all the way. I wanted nothing to do with the arts, the creative side, absolutely nothing, until my mother, who was the most voracious reader, I mean, like at least a book a day, her whole life. And actually, when she passed away at the age of 85, I went into her house, and and they lived in a condo where there was a library down below. And when she died, she had a stack of books sitting next to her on her, next to her seat where she sat. And it was really kind of nice. She always read. So when I graduated from college, and she said, you have to read this book. It's by Taylor Caldwell. And the thing is this thick. Now, mind you, you have to do, in the old days, you had to do book reports. And I picked, The Red Badge of Courage, Lord of the Flies, anything that was less than 100 pages I picked. So she gave me something this thick, and I go, I don't read books. Well, she gave it to me. I read it. I was completely hooked on romance after that and read constantly. But I never wrote. That was not my thing, barely past junior English. I was terrible and didn't want to. And when I got my master's degree, I got 2 of them. You had a choice of taking 10 more classes or write a thesis, which one I picked, not writing a thesis.
Really?
I was about, when did I start? In 2000, as a matter of fact, I started writing. And my husband said, it's getting pretty expensive because in the summer I would buy 1 to 2 books a day. These are pre-Kindle, so they're like $8 a book. And you go to Barnes & Noble and you bring back a stack of books. And he goes, you're reading a book a day, it's $7. That's, $200. We didn't really have the money. And he said, maybe you ought to write a book. And I thought, how hard? And I'm like, how hard can it be? Boy meets girl. Something happens, so they don't get along. They have to break up at some moment, like 3/4 of the way through. Something happens, they get back together, and it's the end. It's because I was reading all the Harlequin books, and I'm like, the authors make it sound so easy. So I thought, I'll try it. How hard can it be? So I wrote my first book, and of course it was brilliant. And a friend of mine said, well, you ought to join this Tampa area romance authors group. And there was like 100 women who went to this every month. So I went, and they're like, well, there's a conference coming up. You should go to this conference, a local one. So I went to this conference, and I won an editor who was going to read my book. And so she was very polite, telling me that it needed some work. And about a year or 2 after that, and I had written like a book a year, and this one lady, Sue Carney, who's a New York Times author, said she needed someone to proofread her book. I didn't understand what beta reading or whatever was. Just, can you give me your honest opinion? By the way, never ask me anything unless you really want to know the truth. So I read it and gave her my feedback, and she said, as a thank you, I'll read the first chapter of one of your books. Well, if I was honest, this woman, it was brutal. She read, and I had written the book. She read it, and she goes, oh, honey, if this is for Harlequin, I suggest you just shelving the whole thing and starting again. And I had written the whole book. Okay. A year goes by. She said, can you read another one of my books? Fine. She says, I'll read your first chapter. She read it, and she goes, you had this woman walk. She hears someone in the house, And she walks in and she goes, how stupid is she? I said, oh, but I needed her to go in because blah, 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 blah. And she goes, that's not motivation. I'm like, but I have to motivate my characters. So I was very slow in learning about motivation, etc. So anyway, fast forward 12 more years, and I went to all these meetings, went to every conference, entered every contest, which I think is the best thing in the world to enter your first like 15 pages of your chapter. You know, in the beginning, they give you 2 out of 10, and they tell you how horrible it is. But if you develop a thick enough skin and you can learn what works, and then eventually I won every contest. And finally, after winning like 10 of them, and Grand Central asked to had a revision letter, and I finally went, you know, I sort of was debating, and Kristen Painter, I don't know if you know who she is, she's a pretty good paranormal author, a friend of mine,
her.
And she's like, you know, you have 15 books at home. Why aren't you self-pubbing these? Are you crazy? And this was in 2011, before when Kindles had just come out. And another friend of hers, Laura Freeman, also from across the state, she goes, send it into Siren Publishing. And I go, who? She goes, oh, Siren will take you in a heartbeat. Well, that should have clued me in that they would take anybody. So I sent it in, and there was no sex in that book. 1 paragraph at most. So I sent it in. They said, fine, we want you to write for us, but you have to add sex. And I'm like, yeah, I don't write sex. I write romantic suspense only. So long story, I ended up publishing 45 books with them after they told me I had to write menage and I had to have 30% sex. So I actually got pretty good with that. But eventually, they didn't really have any editors. And 2 other women who don't write paranormal said, let's all go indie together and we'll all work together. And we did. And between the 3 of us, we figured everything out. They do very, very well. And now they're writing cozies, most write romantic suspense, no paranormal. I was the only one who went to paranormal, and sort of forged my own path from there, and just decided that I wanted to write shifters. I don't know why. And then once I wrote plane shifters, I'm like, oh, I think I'll write dragon shifters. And then I'll add some magic. And a book that comes out in January, I'll think I'm going to add some fays and fairies. And so it's getting more fantasy, but it's always the core is a really solid romance. I think you read Bound by Flames. Pretty much the books have that much romance in them. And I like the romance.
Yeah.
That's just
the fun part.
That's the fun part until
Yeah.
I decided to take a break after 85 books. And my next venture will be integrating is cozy mysteries, paranormal cozy mysteries. And so far there's no romance, and it was actually okay because it was sort of flirting with romance, and I don't know anything about cozy mysteries, read a couple, I'm just having fun with it. Anything goes. And I'm like, I feel like writing anything goes. Will it sell? I don't know. I don't care. I just want to have fun. I'm old. I retired a long time ago. And so I write because I love to write. I don't write because, of course, I like the money. But I don't need the money. I live in Costa.
That's the best, I think that's the best situation to be in, where you can just focus on what makes you happy and the stories that you want to read and want to tell. Yeah.
Totally.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, I don't want the deadline pressures, though because I'm a math person, I do everything in advance. Like I'm working on my May book. My January book's already in. I'm actually also writing a March book. It's a novella. It's already 1/3 done. And I've already written one of my May books. I'm putting 3 books out on the same day, my cozy mysteries.
Wow.
But I always work in advance. I don't do deadlines. I don't want deadlines. If someone wants to say, let's go fly to Panama. Let's go fly to Europe for a week. Okay. I'm not going to say no to that. And that was my mantra in college was never say no to a party. But in order never to say no to a party, you have to work really far in advance. Like finals week is like crazy party. And I'm like, because you only have finals like 3 out of the 7 days. And or however many they had. And I'm like, okay, so I want to be done studying before final week start, which then makes it great. So I've sort of carried that through. I don't want deadlines. I don't want to spend the night staying up late. I did that twice in my entire life. Studying for a test, Some people like that. I have two of my writer friends who, you have 20,000 words and your book is due in a week and it's on pre-order? Yeah. I just won't go to bed for a week. Like, why would you do that? Why do you do? And I know some people can write 10,000 words in a day and they get it done. And I'm like, why would you do that to yourself? I don't. If I'm not in the mood to write, I stop writing. I do 2,000 words a day, sometimes 3, sometimes 500. You know, if I have to, like yesterday I was in the mood, I said, let's go to the beach. Well, since it's warm 365 days a year, and I live 500 feet from the beach, it's easy to go. And it was low tide. I said, let's go to the beach. And I was like 300 shy of my goal, but who cares? I wrote 3,000 the day before. You know, so I kind of like to, I write what I really want to write, and I'm having fun. I mean, dragons are popular, so it's not like I don't want to write something totally weird, but I like to change it up because it's fun for me. And, you know, if I want to put a book out, I do put out one every 8 weeks. Of course, I'll have 3 at one time in May, because it's a new genre for me. But I'm just like, I write them, I put them up, and I don't put them on pre-order until the book's done. I'm not, you know, like, how do I know I won't fall down and break a hip and end up in hospital for some? I've had so many.
I love that. You're like a writing machine. You don't procrastinate, it seems like.
No, I am. In that sense, I was born with discipline, nothing compared to my parents. So I have very good, and my brother, they're extremely disciplined. I'm actually the loosey-goosey one of the group.
Wow.
Yeah, I do not, no, I don't procrastinate. I am disciplined. I'm kind of rigid. I mean, I eat the same thing every day at relatively the same hour, and I don't care what I eat. We're both on keto diets right now. And I don't have a problem keeping on the rigid schedule. That doesn't bother me. But
that's good though. That sounds like a great habit to have.
I think building good habits is probably the key. Too many people are like, yeah, it's not good enough. I have had so many friends in my romance group who wrote books and never published them. And I've read some. I said, these are great. No, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. I'm not done with it. And I'm like, you know, I have reread a little bit some of my first books. I tell people don't read them. You know, the ones, well, I wrote 45 for Melody Snow Monroe when I wrote for Siren. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't read them. Though people said, oh, I love them. And I'm like, well, you weren't very discerning, were you? Every book, I think I get better as I write. And that's my goal, is to make each book better, because I want to make it better. Will it sell more? Not necessarily. I think a lot of it's luck. And I would just say put it up there. You know, and I did get a lot of feedback. I mean, I spent 12 years with people reading it. I had crit partners who, several of my crit partners are still writing 15 years later. And we would go, you know, back and forth. And I said, you have to be honest, because I will be brutal. I'm bored. This sucks. Start again. You know, and I said, if you don't want that, then don't ask me. You know, and
I'm really blunt as a crit reader too. I have a reputation of making authors cry. I always feel so bad when they tell me, but I'm like, well, do you want me to sugarcoat it, or do you want me to be honest? Because
most people really don't want your opinion. They want your validation.
Yeah, that's true. But I can't. I think for me what it is that I want that blunt honesty so that I can improve. So I always just assume that everyone else wants that too, and I forget that some people can't handle it.
Oh, I agree. I think, as you said, if you're a teacher, I remember it took me maybe 15 years of teaching before I had no problem saying the words, I don't know. Because as a teacher, as you know, they look up to you, and you're not allowed to say, I don't know how to do that problem. And when I actually taught Photoshop for a while, and because I love photography, that was my creative side. And when I got in and I did the darkroom, and eventually that went out of the way, and I started doing Photoshop, and I'm like, I did Photoshop. And so I went in and I bought a book, and I said, look, guys, we're all going to learn. You're going to take chapter 1, you're going to take chapter 2, and you're each going to present the chapter, and you're going to be the expert. And I would just say, they would ask me a question, ask him. And that person they took so much pride, and they knew, my kids were beyond amazing. Many went into graphic designing. And I said, can you come here and show me how to do it again? Of course, they loved being able to teach the teacher something. I said, I can't know everything. And even I had one kid, I was teaching pre-calculus, and it was a physics question, which I did teach physics, but I wasn't very good at it. And I had one kid who ended up getting a PhD in physics and turned out to be this incredible genius. I'm like, Alex, you can field that question for me. And he would go on and make the explanation. You have to admit that you don't know everything, and you can't. Like, I have my editor who, brutal. I swear I rewrite my book every time, but she's spot on with the big picture. And I'm like, great. I want to be told, because I want to put out the best product. And we're all blind. We write it and don't see stuff.
Right, true.
But I only really will critique if the person's a good writer already. I'm not going to crush them and say, start all over again. I was the type, just toss it, and those books never saw the day of light. And I said, okay, I'll start all over again. What would you suggest? And she goes, you need blank, blank, and blank. Well, then, of course, I read every craft book known to mankind, went to every conference, went to RWA, you name it, sat in all the classes and really studied it. And I am an excellent I even wrote a book, How to Study in High School. That's my first book I wrote. It really did better than any book that I ever wrote. It did really, really well. Bought a couple cars with the proceeds. So I do know how to study. I'm an expert studier. So I figure, if I need to research, I will research. So
that's very cool. That's a good attitude to have. So how long have you been published?
My first book was published in 2011 with Siren. And if you want to talk about trial by fire, it was a book every 3 weeks they demanded. And they had to be about 30,000 words, which meant I had to write 4,000 words a day, 7 days a week. And needless to say, you don't really get the time to reread it, analyze it, find error. How stupid. I figured, I'm giving it to the publisher. They're the ones who are going to edit it. I mean, some edited, some didn't. There is no book that's great. And proofreading? No, not even in their vocabulary. So finally, when I got to the end, I'm like, people were saying, there are typos in here. I'm like, well, every book has typos. So then someone told me about that the computer will read it to you. Well, that was a horrifying thought. And so now I Alex my book. The computer reads it to me. He and I are friends. He shuns some things I write because he has an attitude, but he reads it to me. And I catch a tremendous amount. I never skip that step. And then I have 3 editors, one who does content, who is the brutal woman. My next one just says, I'm not an editor, but then she tries to smooth out all my words, or I'm pretty terse. So she'll add the word that, which I was told never to put in, but she makes it flowing better. And then my last editor is the Chicago Manual style.
That kind of answers my next question. I was going to comment on your writing style, because when I was reading Bound by Flames, I couldn't get over how flawless your writing is. It was very smooth, very easy to just slide right into the story. I don't know, the sentences were just so clean, and I was like, wow. I was wondering if that comes naturally to you, or if you just had a lot of editing.
I reread it. I print everything off. I read it. I reread it. And every day I reread it again. And then when I'm done, I reread it. I send it to the main editor, make all the corrections, reread it again, send it to editor 2. She does it. I don't reread it. I just take most of her corrections. Send it to the other one. Then I do Alex, and then I'll reread it again. So Each time it gets a little smoother, so I've gone through the book maybe 10 times.
Well, you're doing a wonderful job. I loved it.
Well, thank you.
You have a very good system in place.
It costs a lot because I'm paying a lot of people. Then I have 2 proofreaders who, I swear to God, I've done all that, and they've never read it and not found an error. I'm like, how can I make, I don't really misspell words, though I am very dyslexic, which really sucks when you're a math teacher and you say 32 and you write 23. And I say, what I say is right, what I write is not right. So they're like, no, you got it backwards again. And I'm like, fine. So, and my people know, they say, oh yeah, I'll do he instead of she, which is bad when it's her cock because she can't have one. His breast, those kind of things. I get the his and the hers, but I catch them eventually, or somebody does, because I've got I have 5 sets of eyes and me about 10 times, as well as printing. So I don't
it's working. It's working for you, because I never would have guessed that you had dyslexia or any issues, really.
Yes, and I do know that I have homonym issues. Like, I know how to spell, but I will say, and I know the difference between there, and there, but not necessarily is going to write it down. Car brakes, I would spell it B-R-E-A-K. I know it's B-R-A-K-E. I mean, I know the right word, but my brain will put the wrong word down. But after 10 times through, I will catch them all because I do know the difference. So that, if nothing else, criticize that you didn't like the plot. Criticize that you thought the heroine was wimpy, or that the hero was a jerk. Whatever that, but don't criticize that my spelling sucked, or that I had too many typos. I want to get those out of the way because that's under my control. Because people will always love the books, and the group of people will always not like the books. I mean, even the Bible got 1 stars. I mean, any book you put up, Stephen King, Nora Roberts, J.K. Rowling, there's ones, and I hate it when they give you a 1 star, it's for the wrong book. Oh
my goodness, yes.
I have this one review I have about my heroine from the book 1 of my series. She giggled too much. Now, the first 1/3 of the book, she's in prison, has been poisoned, and is being controlled by a dark witch. She is never laughing. So I'm like, I don't know what book you're doing. Especially when they don't at least say the name of the book, or at least name 1 character, so I know you have the right book.
Right.
That's my only pet peeve for that.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So I know you live in Costa Rica. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, about 4 years ago, I was writing. You just sit in your living room, and I write 2,000-4,000 words a day. My husband worked from home, and he's always wanted to learn a language. And he said, let's learn Spanish. I spoke French a little bit, never spoke a word of Spanish. I'm like, okay, we can take a class. He goes, no, why don't we just move there? Why not? And I'm like,
sure.
Why not? Okay. I lived in Florida. It wasn't a big step. And we said basically it's an adventure. And I'm like, okay. And so we moved down. We went to a class for people who were interested in moving to Costa Rica, and they gave us all the ins and outs. It was awesome. And then on the internet, we looked to see where we wanted to move. And I had been here twice. He had been here once. I have a friend, Erica Ridley, who's a New York Times author. She does very well. She writes historical. And she and I were friends in Tampa. She moved down to Costa Rica. Last month, married a Costa Rican. And she lives about 3 hours in the middle of the state compared to me, and I live on the West Coast. And so I kind of fell in love with Costa Rica, and because it's now that it's November, it will not rain until next May. The weather's very predictable, so we get sunshine, and the weather. Let's go see. Some people would hate it because it's probably too hot. Yes, it is 88, low of 77, and this is what it is almost every day, 365 days a year, which could drive some people crazy. you know, some people may dislike the heat. The people here are incredibly nice. I am a princess. Yes, I live in a very nice condo. Yes, I have granite countertops and all our furniture. Everything you see, it's all handmade because it's cheaper than buying it. The stuff is fairly, labor is cheap here. I did have a maid for a while. The minimum wage is $2 an hour, which I felt bad, so we paid her $5, which a normal maid is going to cost you a lot. She was amazing until she got pregnant. But yeah, life here is, I feel like I live in the 1950s. I live in a town with 2 streets, not much traffic. I do have a Walmart that came in last year, and they're putting in a Price Smart. And I live 20 minutes from the airport, and the airport just got a nonstop flight, not that I really want to go, from here to Amsterdam, so we have international flights. And, well, really international, not just to the States and stuff. And, you know, we pretty much, I order everything on Amazon. And I ship it down and then pay 100% tax when it comes over here. But we don't pay tax. We pay U.S. taxes, but not Costa Rican taxes.
Okay.
So it's wonderful. The people are super nice. Everyone in my tower speaks English because most of the people who live in this place went to college in the U.S. because their families could afford it. So there's hardly anybody in the 40 units who doesn't. Everyone speaks English. And the kids are taught English. If I go to the grocery store, maybe not so much. But, you know, if you look hard enough, you can find it. I don't care. If they don't have it, then whatever. I don't do fast food. So if you want to be healthy, you move down here. It's a blue zone. You go to a restaurant and everyone's a fisherman. So they've caught the fish that day. So if that's something like really, you know, easygoing stuff, if you go to the city, of which we have 2 cities, but if you go to the one city in the middle, San Jose, they'll have Outback and Starbucks and, you know, the mall. We have a 4-story mall that's nicer than I've seen. And it has everything from Victoria's Secret to Michael Kors to North Face to Columbia. You know, every American brand is there. So if you want it, you can drive the 4 hours to the city to get it. But other than that, it's a different lifestyle, but we just got fiber optics. So I have fiber. I mean, I have really fast internet. And what more do you need? Sunshine, beaches, not much cars, and it's really nice. And you can live really cheaply if you want to.
Yeah, that's great. So does living in Costa Rica affect your writing at all? Like, does it inspire any part of your stories or characters or anything like that?
Well, my cozy mystery, which I've just started, the familiar, who is the detective who will solve most of the crimes, is an iguana. And we have iguanas everywhere. You have to watch where you step so that you do not step in iguanas. We have a tree outside our deck. I'm on the 4th floor, and it's loaded with iguanas. Iguanas are everywhere. Yes, iguanas are everywhere. So I said, you know, I know what they do. I know when they're being aggressive. So yes. And he's called Iggy, and he's a pink iguana, of which there really are pink iguanas, but I made him a really outrageously obnoxious pink iguana, and he will be the familiar who is beyond sassy. The nice thing is, if you don't know what you want to write, there is nothing more amazing than walking down to the beach, and not many people are on the beach. It's a mile-long beach, and sometimes there's like 3 people on the entire mile-long beach. And you just walk up and down, and you float in the water. It's on the Pacific, but 6 months out of the year, the water temperature is about 87, which I know for some people is too hot, not for me. Now it's like 80, and I'm like, yeah, it's too cold. You know, you get really spoiled, but pretty much you can go swimming 365 days a year, and you come back and you are ready to work because you get out. You know, if you're snowbound, even in Florida for 3 months, it was like, okay, it was 60 degrees outside, which is to you warm, short weather. But you know, you have to bundle up if you're going to go for a walk. And there's a lot of cars in Tampa. I lived in downtown Tampa. There's just cars everywhere. And here, Nope, we can drive into the grocery store, which, by the way, our main grocery store looks just like any U.S. grocery store. It's awesome. They have all the American stuff. We're going to pay for it, but we have anything you want there. And yeah, everyone's super nice. We know the cashiers. They know us. Some speak English, some don't. It's a Zen environment.
Oh, sure. I can imagine.
And all the restaurants are outdoor restaurants. So you bring your bug spray sometimes. I don't get bitten as much as my husband does. But if you just want to sit at a restaurant and look at the ocean, they don't mind. They'll let you sit there for as long as you want to. Most of the tables are on the sand because they're all the beach restaurants. And now, we do live near a town where there is a nightlife because they're all tourists. So if you want to go to bars and you want to listen to music and dance, that's about 10 minutes from here. But in our town, it's pretty quiet because it's one street long. And it's a T, my street, and then the street along the beach, which has all the restaurants and hotels and the tourists.
That sounds amazing to me.
You know, if you just want to get away and you just want to clear your head to write, I'll just go. And I Skype with my friends. I have people who live here who write. And it's, I wouldn't go back. I have no intention of moving back to the States.
I don't blame you.
They have good medical stuff here. One of the nice things, they have medical tourism. That's where they get their money. So if you want a facelift, have not had that done. You want your eyes done. You want your teeth done. You want any treatment. It's like 1/3 the price if you come here. So a lot of people come down just for the medical treatment. And they've got a Johns Hopkins hospital, and they have a Blue Cross Blue Shield hospital. So they have American hospitals here, and many of the people train in the U.S., not all of them, and then come down here and work because it's nice.
That's fascinating. I never knew that.
No, my girlfriend Erica laughs at me because I thought, I'm really good and I'm pretty smart, but I never took geography and I would have gotten an F. I thought Costa Rica was an island. It's not.
Really?
Oh my God, I didn't even know where Costa Rica was until I looked at it. I'm like, oh.
I mean, I know where it is on the map, but I don't know, for some reason in my head, I always think of like I wouldn't have imagined that they had a mall or a Walmart or a Starbucks or things like that. So that's
America has come in the town near us, which is like 30 minutes away on the corner. I call it the American corner because they've got Papa John's, Burger King, Taco Bell, McDonald's, and Kentucky Fried Chicken on the corner. And people flock to that. Anything American, they love. And I know that some people say Walmart's bad. I like Walmart, but people don't like it. But when they opened Walmart, the town gave them a parade. It was a big deal.
Oh, wow.
They're into horses.
That's so cool.
Because they think that gave like 500 jobs to their community, which is huge for them. And for them, they pay well by Costa Rican standards. Yes, we do. By the way, I said it's kind of rural. No problem with horses running down the street. Cows, always herds of cows. Chickens crossing the street. You talk about free-range chickens? I don't know how they catch them to cook them. We do good eggs. They're so fresh, they don't even refrigerate them. They got little feathers on them. You got to wash them off. So there are some benefits if you're interested in eating healthy and stuff like that. So yes, it is inspirational. I did actually have them go on a honeymoon in Costa Rica, right in my hometown, no less. What do you know? But other than that, no, I would not set a book here because I think settings in pretty much in the States are probably a little bit easier. And I lived in Florida for 40 years, so that my cozies are set there. And my favorite state's North Carolina because I love hiking and backpacking and camping. So, And I grew up in Connecticut and out of New York City. So I like to write what I know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can research, but pretty much, and I've traveled all over the world. So I do, I may take them to Paris or to an African safari or something. because I have some experience to write about that. But anyway, it's
Okay, that makes sense.
I just write what I
you
want
to get into you want to get into talking about the Hidden Realms of Silver Lake series. Maybe tell us a little bit about what it's about.
I would be happy to. I wanted to have a series that I actually planned. And so not just, oh, I think I'll write about werewolves. I'll just write my first book and hope to go from there. Not what I wanted to do. So my editor, who lives in Canada, is a very good friend of mine, I flew up to Canada in the summer, of course, and we sat for like 4 days straight with more spreadsheets than you can imagine, and we outlined everything, who were the good people, who were the bad people, what the clans were like, what the people were like, what kind of magic did they each have. So I more or less outlined a whole series. And when I was like 3/4 of the way through, I decided, it's called Wares and Witches of Silver Lake. And Silver Lake it's a very magical lake in Tennessee, because I could write about Tennessee, North Carolina. I know that area very well. And I then decided that I wanted to expand. I mean, once you write maybe, oh, how cute, maybe 20 books in a series, some people, like, it drops off. And I thought, 12, 15 would be a good length, but I wanted something different. And so I said, I wanted dragons, because I read a few dragon stories, and they were powerful, and they could do so much. I mean, they could shoot fire, they could fight anybody. They were big and powerful. So I decided to do a spin-off in a different realm. And in book 10, I bring a dragon onto Earth. And it's like, well, then I had to decide, another realm, is it like Earth, not like Earth? Well, I hate to say, the Hidden Realm people are kind of lazy, so they mostly sent the people to the U.S. where they kind of, let's just say, borrowed their technology for their cell phones. They built their own cars, of course, but they went to school here, and they didn't shift or fly as dragons, but they kind of like got used to what the U.S. or our world was like, and they kind of brought everything to this realm. So I can sort of write it. They have one monetary system for the whole realm. And so I decided to do that and then call it Hidden Realms of Silver Lake, because I decided that the entire realm was Silver Lake. And I also wanted to add more goddesses, because I found them fascinating. And I then did, by popular demand, they demanded their own spin-off. So I took the 4 goddesses and I gave them their own series, but then there was a secondary character that I fell in love with, and so they each got one of those. And I'm right now, as soon as I finish I will continue book 6 of that series. So at the moment, it's a 3-book series, but in the next book, the one you wrote Bound for Flames, and the next one, Fueled by Flames, is a fae. And he lives on still a different realm, which is completely magical. And I have them go there. Now, I don't think I'm not spinning it off. I'll just have people go and come back, because they're portal guards. So it's easy for them, but I like to create the world in advance so that I don't get something wrong. And I got really, really good with my Hidden Realm series, because I finally kept a Bible that is a spreadsheet with about 40 tabs. And so from now on, I have learned my lesson, write everything down. And now I even outline every chapter so I can go back when I'm doing my cozies. My cozies are even more insane, because I realized I don't remember who my main characters were in the book. I mean, I love them, but I can't remember. There's just too many. I mean, after 85 books, you can't remember who's with whom. And so I write everything down. So I keep spreadsheets, because I love spreadsheets. And I want to know who's with whom, how old are their kids now, because you got to age them. They have babies, and this is 5 books later. How old are they? So you got to kind of keep a consistent timeline. So this is the first series. This was sort of like my reset. I wrote contemporary romantic suspense, which I still love romantic suspense, but I said paranormal is where my heart is. And so I said, if I'm going to do it, I'm all in. And so I want to describe the world. I didn't outline all the books. We did outline the first 4 books so that I could get a feel for how they all interact and why would they go there? Who were the good and evil? What were the overarching, theme through the books, etc. Who were the good guys? Who were the bad guys, etc. So that's sort of where I come from. I guess being organized, which is what my forte is, helps. Being disciplined and being organized, so that I do plot my books, but I also pants the beginning, because I've now learned if the characters don't want to do something, I don't make them do it. I did a 9-page single-space outline for the book After Years. No, excuse me, for my cozy. I did this long cozy. And in the first chapter, they killed the wrong person. I went, I have it all worked out. Why did they kill this person? Who would want to kill him? What the motivation? They said, no, he's not dying. The other guy is. But I have to let them go. I know it sounds crazy that they rolled and went against me. But I like to let the free flow go as long as I know it fits in my world. But you don't know that unless you outline your world. That makes
true.
I had to know what the Fae world is like. What is it like? And fortunately, my editor has read every book known to man. That's all she does is read all day long. So I'm like, okay, so-and-so does it this way, but we can't copy here, so you have to come up with something different. And so-and-so does it this way, we can't copy here. Oh, that's enough. So, I'm kind of, trying to switch it up. And then in the book you read does have the fays and fairies, and there's 3 sisters and 2 brothers. One she has issues. I haven't quite figured out her work. She won't even go to Earth. She left, and I haven't figured out what her issues are. She's kind of has problems, but I will figure that out. But it's just, I have a good time, and I hope that relates. Most of my men are my husband, who's an absolutely wonderful, aggressively beta person. He's opinionated, but he's very nice and sweet and protective. I don't do assholes. I've written some, and my husband says, you don't like him. I go, I know, but that's what I thought he should be. So, no, because you can tell when you read a book if the author doesn't love the heroine or love the hero. And so I have to make my heroine strong enough, but not so strong that they don't need any help. Well, they think they don't need help, and then they really do. Even the one you read, Wendy, she was hard to rein in. She wanted to do her own thing.
Yeah, I liked her though. I like Wendy.
She and the people will come up in more books. Like if there's a story, then of course I'll go to Wendy and she can write the story. And when I did my Wares and Witches, I decided that I wanted to, book 12 of the series, I went back and picked up book 2 couple, and what were their life like 12 years later? 6 years later, after they had 2 kids, they had stresses of life. When you first meet them, oh, it's all love and wonderful, and then real life hits. So that was my first revisiting story. And my editors, they said it's their favorite book I've ever written. I'm like, really? Okay. Because when I read it, can you tell if it's a great book when you read your books? You think I can't tell if they're good. And then people say, oh, it's my favorite. I'm like, oh, no, that wasn't the favorite. I like this one better, because it's, each one is different. So, that's sort of my story. And I just write every day, and because I enjoy writing. And I probably will till I'm 80 years old or 90 or however long I can write. I have perfect fingers. I have no arthritis in my fingers, which I'm
good.
a lot of people have carpal tunnel and they have, I don't know, they have all these physical
Yeah.
issues.
So
I fortunately have no physical issues. I'm 70 years old, and I have no aches and pains. So I'm lucky, ran on the treadmill today. I mean, I'm in good physical shape. I started going to the gym 50 years ago and haven't stopped. So I,
oh, wow.
you know, I like working out. I like the discipline, and I just love writing. And coming down here is the best thing we ever did.
I
So
think you're such a wonderful inspiration.
come down. Anyone can come down to Costa Rica.
I would love to, honestly. So since it sounds like you write in a multiverse, where would you suggest that a new reader start? Like, what book should they start with for as far as the Hidden Realms series?
I would suggest with one, and then if you had to skip to whatever you want to, you could. I do bring in, as you see, the old. I try to bring in whatever former characters are needed to bring it in. Now, book 9, which comes out in January, is, because it's in the Fae and Fairy realm, it's the first one there. And it actually brings in, the heroine is Tori Sinclair, and it started with book 7. So let's say I didn't write in trilogies, but 7, 8, and 9 kind of go together. You can almost skip the middle one if you wanted to, but really, I would say 7 and 9 have the Fae stuff in it. But I probably would start with 1, and it's 99 cents now, plus I think
What's that one called?
1 away for free, right?
What's that book called, the first one?
Awakened by Flames.
Okay.
And that book everyone gets for free.
Awesome. I'm going to pick it up because I have a lot of catching up to do.
That it just sets the stage for, because the hero comes from Earth, and she's from, I combine the 2 realms together, and so you sort of get to see who are in the realm, what the strengths are, what the dragons are all about, and then if you really needed to go to another book because you didn't like reading all the middle ones or you want to skip, I guess 1, 7, 8, 9, if I had to pick. But again, I'm giving away book 1 for free to everybody just to kind of get them started. There are references to the Wares and Witches because book 1, he brings his dragon woman back home to Earth because they're just a portal jump away. But I don't think you really need to know who they are, to be honest. I like to write them as standalone as I can, but of course, everyone wants to know, oh, so-and-so finally had a baby, that kind of thing. So
Yeah,
really standalone, but you read it and understood, I hope, kind of what you get the flavor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I had no problem keeping up with the story, and you did a wonderful job of explaining what was relevant for book 8, even though some of this stuff happened in the past. So.
Right, and I try to do that for every book. But again, since I'm giving away book 1 for free, that why not start there and then make a decision? Some people only like to read the newest book, and they could go from 1 to 9. That's not unheard of. And hopefully we'll then decide, oh, I think I'll fill them in. Because sometimes when you have a secondary character, you're like, oh, that person's interesting. Who was that person? And then you look up to see, what book they're in.
Hey, what's your favorite part of writing Dragon Shifters? Like, is there anything in particular that you love about that sort of creature?
I kind of like the fights they have.
Yeah.
I probably don't give enough of them, but I love their power and just their self-confidence, maybe because I write guardians and they're the protectors of the realm, so they have extra magic. But anybody who's 15 feet tall and has a 40-foot wingspan, or 20, whatever it was, I don't know, there's just something about them that you're not going to kill them. And not that they're immortal, but they live 500 to 1,000 years. And nothing's going to scare them. I mean, they could handle bears, they could handle wolves, they could take care of anybody. So I want a dragon shifter. Plus, you get to fly. How cool would it be? Now, I don't have any, I think one time I have them fly on the back and hold on, sort of like Game of Thrones. Pretty much they just hold you in their claw like this, one under you to support you and then, kind of keep you from falling out, which without a seatbelt would scare the crap out of me. But, especially if they do any, diving around. I just like the idea that they can cloak themselves. Yeah. And I probably don't do enough fights, but and like this one actually had, I don't even know if there was a dragon fight in this one. And the one you read, I know actually had the two women fighting, which I thought was kind of cool. I kind of like the fight scenes. They're just sort of different because my background's really romantic suspense. And so I kind of like those type of things. I guess
that's very cool.
They're and that they glow when they're sexually excited because they all have the different color scales.
Yeah, that part was cool. I like seeing all the different colors. All right, so to wrap this up, is there anything else that you would like to tell the readers today? Anything like that?
I would love for them to join my newsletter. But if they have 452,000 newsletters, follow me on BookBub, because at least then they get, or follow me on Amazon, I don't care, just because then they get a notice as to when things are coming out. I love hearing from people. I've had some people write and say, oh, it would be great if you had so-and-so with so-and-so, and maybe they could have this as a power. I've had a lot of input that get integrated into my story. Now, some of them are like,
that's cool.
A gargoyle shifter? Maybe. That was a little iffy, but, I do love gargoyles. I had a lot of gargoyle statues when I lived in Florida. When I moved here, I had to give everything away. But, yeah, I like the feedback. And all suggestions welcome. I do have a Facebook group called the Hidden Realms group, and people can join that, sign up for it, and I give them advance notice for things like I have my ARCs that I put on Booksprout. So I have 50 of them, so if anyone wants to read my books for free, all they have to do is give me a review, and Booksprout handles all of the delivery of the books. I don't have to send them out. Of course, if they don't review them, they get kicked out of the team, because that's what Booksprout does. So yeah, if they want advance notice, or I give them polls, do you like A or B? Because I really want people's input. And most people are smart. Like I didn't know if I should start a new pen name when I did the Cozy Mysteries. And I think I had all but 2 people said, no, don't bother. So I want to interact. I like people. So I'm not a recluse at all. I'm an extrovert. So if people want to write me and have an interaction, that's fine. So I'm good to go. And it's they can write me at Vella@velladay.com. I have 2 emails, but that one's easiest to remember. Vella@velladay.com. So, and I really want to thank you. You're doing a great job with the paranormal group.
Thank you.
And you've got so many people, and it's so nice that there's always a person there. And that we see a lot of videos of you, which makes it more personable that you're you. Versus some groups where you never see the moderators. And I don't know, I kind of feel that you care. And the people, I know you do, and that the people in the group care, which is really kind of cool. So it's a wonderful.
And that's why we're trying to get more authors to do more videos too, because I feel like the video, having the face and seeing the person, it's so much more. It's a whole different level than just seeing a written post or a meme or whatever. Like, memes don't mean anything anymore. Like, everybody does them. So I feel like, being able to talk to you and to other authors and to have the authors do the live videos and things like that, I feel like it's a lot more personal, and it adds something special to the group.
Oh, absolutely. It's sad that so many of my friends refuse to do them. I can't get in front of it. I'm like, well, I don't have that problem. This is,
You know, and I was really shy about it the first time I did it on my own fan page, but you know, if you just keep doing them, after a while it becomes second nature, and like you're not embarrassed anymore.
well, I feel
And it's a lot of fun.
I mean, I'm not, maybe people are watching when you put it on, but I think there's you and me. Of course, we met through Johnny's group. So it was like, oh, I get to talk to you. And I got to talk to Brenda.
Mm-hmm.
I had PM for, you know, a year, like almost every other day. And it was like, oh, I finally get to meet you. And
Exactly.
I got, you know, and I got to see these people and I'm like, she's British. I didn't know she was British, you know, or oh, they have 10 cats. And by the way, I have no children and I have no animals because we're moving. I mean, we move and we're always out. So that's just who I am. And if we want to go someplace, we go someplace. Of course, now it's like driving
Cool.
30 minutes away, but you know, we're still going someplace. And there are more restaurants here than any place in the world, I think, because I don't think they have any requirements to open a restaurant. I think anybody can open a restaurant. So that's what they do. Fishermen come with the food, and good old mom and grandma sit there and make all the food. And I've never been sick, and the food's fantastic. So yeah, I agree. I'm always happy to do a live video. I'm doing one on the 15th, talking about what will be then my new release on the 12th, because I'm going on the 15th. And yeah, I agree. I think more people should go. I always turn them on. I'm like, oh, she's beautiful. You know, or she's so young. I mean, I just know who the person is, or oh, they're crazy. I'm not reading their stuff. Or I would never say that, but you know, you want someone who's passionate about what they're writing, and I'm really passionate about what I'm. And so, anytime you need anyone to discuss,
oh, I would love to do this again. So anytime you have any release, I would love to have you on again. That'd be great.
I would be happy to do that, and I want to say thank you for reading the book, and I'm always happy to send you a paperback if you want one to give away, because I think we are doing
wonderful.
Those, we're giving them away. And please know, people who are listening, they're not signed. Why are they not signed? Because for me, it will take me 3 weeks to ship it from Amazon to here. I then sign it, and sending anything out is a DHL or a FedEx, and it's $50. So I'm not getting the book for 10, signing it, and then shipping it off for 50. You don't need my signature, which is illegible anyway. So I can have Jen sign it and say, enjoy the adventure.
I can sign it. If you want me to, I can sign it on your behalf. Like on behalf of Vella Day.
That would be great. Whoever wins, dear Brenda, dear Mary, dear Kathy, Vella Day, who isn't around to sign it. You know, because
I will do that for you then, and I'll take a photograph and I'll show you.
I would love that. Yeah, I don't have the ability to personalize the copies, which makes me sad, because I used to go to all the conferences and it was fun. And then I'm thinking, how do I get swag? I can't get it here. It's just, that's the negative of living here. My other friend Erica goes to all of them, but her mom lives in Indiana. And so her mom is her assistant, and she sends all her books, and she visits her mom, signs everything, sets everything up, and then her mom goes to the post office every 3 days and sends her stuff out. So, you know, if I had someone like that, fine. My assistant's in friggin' Canada. She can't even send me stuff. Oh, it'll take a month to get it. So, you know, that's just the way it is.
That's understandable.
Yeah, well, thank you. Anytime, I'll be happy to send you when I get the next book out. I'll send you a couple copies, and if you want to give them away, I'll be happy to come out in January again and talk if people don't get tired of me talking. Because I can always...
Well, yep. Well, thank you so much. We'll wrap this video up. I'll let you know. I'm sure you have better things to do. Yep. So thank you for hanging out.
Thank you. Later. Appreciate it, Jan. Bye.
All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that interview with best-selling author Vella Day. Again, you can check out Bound by Flames as well as the rest of the Hidden Realms of Silver Lake series by visiting Vella Day's website, which is velladay.com. You can also find tons of more paranormal romance books and series by checking out ilovevampirenovels.com. And don't forget to click that subscribe button and bell icon below so that you don't miss any of our future video reviews and giveaways. Until next time, happy reading. Bye-bye.